Check the mic and make sure it sound right.
Hi, I'm DK Will. This is DK Will Talk About It. I'm going to do a video covering some of the Iraq information because it seems like a lot of my audience wants me to talk about Iraq, but I can assure you when you come to me looking to talk about Iraq, it's not going to be to pump any kind of guru hopium. It's going to be grounded in a real evaluation of the facts. And what you see on the screen is from the prior video that I covered on Iraq. I did one after that about the school system and kids, and nobody seems to be interested in that, which in my opinion is a daggone shame. And I'm going to tell you why. Because the children are our future. There's a song like that. I remember when I was a kid, there was a song by that. But nonetheless, it doesn't matter if we're grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters, or whatever. If we are older and wiser, and we're not trying to help our children get a better view on life and to walk a better course of life, it's a shame. Because as we have seen, I'm sorry for this rant and this tangent, but I got to do it. As we have seen celebrities who everybody looks up as stars, which is ridiculous in my mind, are taking young boys and adopting them out of some altruistic fake method and turning young black kids into little black girls, young black boys into little black girls. I mean, come on, people. Get your head out of the money in the Iraqi dinar and get your head into what matters in life, and that starts with self, quite honestly, and our families. And nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect either, but my goodness gracious, I assure you, when I cover Iraqi dinar, I'm doing it for the benefit of my audience because I've already come to a conclusion. You want to hear my conclusion? Listen to this. You get my point. Going on, it says a new international rate for the Iraqi dinar could be made public on Sunday, October 1. And on Sunday, October 1, bondholders will be notified to set appointments with their funds available to them on Monday, 2 October. Didn't happen. And on Monday, 2 October, was the U.S. incorporated government shutdown, expected to set off a worldwide financial crisis. On Monday, 2 October, the stock market would reopen, while sell-off continued until another 20% again was expected to trigger a close of all trading until Tuesday, 3 October morning. Okay, so we are at 3 October morning. And that's why it doesn't make any sense unless we are robotic drones walking without minds to cover daily activity on the Iraqi dinar. So this is DK. We'll talk about it. And I'm going to talk about it, but I got a lot more important things to talk about. Because my view of investing is invest what you can afford, move on and live your life. And let the investment do what you planned on it to do. Not hang by every thread for it to happen. And I understand it's difficult times for all of us. But that doesn't mean we lose our own code of ethics and standards. So I'm going to cover the Iraqi dinar. And as you can see, I'm almost covering it begrudgingly. And why? Because it's too important in the minds of many. Okay, with that being said, let's cover some news, rumors, and opinions again from the dinar recap stated today, Tuesday, October 3rd. It's just now pushing on 2 p.m. Central Standard Time where I'm at. And it goes on to say that the forex was down all Sunday evening, 1 October, and then came up Monday morning, 2 October, with all values set to 0. Now, admittedly, in a text chain that I'm in, I got an image that suggested that this could have happened. I'm always questionable when I get images on the source of the image and things of that nature. But I did get an image that suggested that maybe there was a zeroing out of currencies. And as you can see here, I showing this image on the screen. Let me make it a little bigger. I don't know who this individual is. It looks like an X or Twitter account, but it does speak of a glitch to 0 and it's their opinions. But here it says as of October 1, 2023, currencies, Iraqi or whatever that means. What I see is the exchange rates here are all zeroed out. Okay, so obviously most of us don't have access to the Forex, so it's not able to be confirmed. And I really don't know the authenticity of what I'm showing you, but hey, it's there for your consumption just like it was for mine. Continue on. We see here that on this yesterday, 2 October, Frank said all red, high alert. Okay, I don't know what to add to that. And then TNT Tony said it's all supposed to happen Monday night, 2 October. Banks have told people they have been given SKRs, safekeeping receipts, so that they will be liquid tonight, Monday to October. Three-letter agencies are saying after 3 p.m. Eastern, Monday to October into the night. Tuesday, 3 October, is Iraq's Independence Day. We've already confirmed that to be true. And on Wednesday, 4 October, they are to be accepted into the World Trade Center. Okay, all right, let's address that. But I'll also address something else. As you guys know, I'm not into the hate, okay? I'm not into the hate. And Tony, Mark, Bruce, Wolverine, all of them, Goldie, I don't care who they are. I mean, they do what they do like I'm doing what I do. I have absolutely no reason to hate them. If you have a reason to hate them, then you're only hurting yourself. Um, but please, don't. So far we've been doing it because I've been doing Iraqi in our videos, but please don't bring the hate. Don't bring the hate. If you don't have something to say about a person, um, even if it's negative, at least substantiate it. Substantiate it with some kind of proof or evidence other than just a hateful opinion. Oh my goodness, I don't enjoy those kind of comments. Now, otherwise, please like, please subscribe, please feel free to comment, and you don't have to agree, but you just don't have to be, for lack of a better term, an asshole about it. Okay? If you've never met a person, how can you hate them just because of what you heard? You know? That's how this entire system is being manipulated because of people without minds of their own who get their minds from what they hear or what the force of the spirit is of a group of other people, and then they go with it even though they don't have a reason for it. I've seen interviews of people asking people, why do you have this position? And it's like, the tweet 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 tweet, the crickets. They don't even have a reason for their opinion. So if you don't have a reason for your hateful opinion on somebody, keep it to yourself. Okay? Please. Thank you. Now, let's address this. Being accepted to the World Trade Center or not. I touched on this topic in the prior Iraqi dinar video of where they were in the accession, and it wasn't very far along in the accession. And as you can see here, just a Bing search shows that they are an observer member of the World Trade Organization as of the date of doing this search, which is quite honestly moments before doing this video. But also looking at an article in regards to that matter, that topic, that subject, that's dated July 24th of this year, 2023. It poses the question, will Iraq succeed in the quest to join the World Trade Organization? All right, this article goes on to show that this 19-year-long push to join the World Trade Organization is gathering pace. That's positive. Baghdad initially submitted a request to join back in 2004. It currently sits as an observer member while it works through the process of implementing regulations, strategies, and internal policies necessary to meet the conditions for full membership. Can you say corruption, boys and girls? The International Trade Coordinator at Iraq's Trade Ministry last summer told state media that her ministry is in charge of working to prepare the required documents for joining the World Trade Organization. She goes on to say Iraq has the industrial, agricultural, and trade exchange qualifications. However, it needs to study and develop the applicable policies to align with the organization's regulations, adding that the country is currently in the middle of the road to join. Okay? So that being said, it doesn't sound like they're going very fast but of course people can keep things under wraps and we may not know. But that's where they are according to this, in the middle of the road. So keep in mind that I said in the middle of the road, and according to this article, as you can see here, it says it's a difficult road. It talks about the history of the World Trade Organization, its 164 member states, but you can see that there are 25 countries right here which are currently have observer status, including Iran, Iraq, and Syria, all neighbors, but there are other neighbors. Jordan, Kuwait, Turkey, and Saudi Arabia are members. So that's promising that they could become members, but as of this point, they are not, and all the news and rumors that they may be remains to be seen. Continuing on, a person named Stacy said that they were in their bank today. The manager told me he cannot divulge a date, but the change in currency, his words, has been updated today. That will be a 2 of October. Now, we looked at the image that I saw. The screens show Bolivar, Dong, and Dinar. He didn't know about the Zim bonds or agro checks, but there are 206 currencies on their screen now. They cannot exchange until they are given the go. The software has been completed, and they tested the Delaware machine they have. Okay, so now, as you guys are aware, I have a little bit of a history working in banks. And at one point, I do recall that as far as the dong went, we were only accepting it, but we weren't ordering it at one point. Things just happen in the banks, and we'll just have to wonder if Stacy talked to a bank official who really knew something. Wolverine says, I received a very important call today. I am very emotional. All I can tell you is that we are ready. We are ready. This is, it should say definitely, I think, coming, not defiantly. Keep an eye on your emails. Well, don't we all check our emails? And so far, I haven't received any of these promised emails on any of these promised dates. I'm not being cynical, and I'm just being truthful. And at the same time, I'm trying to be a balancing mechanism, because when people have their hope in something and they put too much hope in the wrong place, it could be damaging. And quite honestly, and humorously, like before I said, you can't buy happiness. Then if this happens, money's not going to buy happiness if we're not already happy. If we're not already happy, money is going to be just another distraction, just like this entire journey, the distraction of the Iraqi dinar, the distraction of XRP, the distraction of the new monetary system. They are all just distractions. Because the true source of happiness is going to begin from the inside out. And happy are those conscious of their spiritual need, not their material need. We all know we got to eat, and we all know we got to sleep, and we all know we got to protect ourselves from harm. Doing that doesn't necessarily make you happy, but it certainly could keep you happy. Okay, moving on. Like I said, ain't gonna be no hopium here, but I will cover the information. Mark Z said, I would say it's a high possibility that we go this week. Okay, no offense to Mark Z, but this week, that week, the prior week, and then the other week. Really, folks, I don't understand there must be some kind of psychological operation for continuing to give these promising hopes to individuals. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to take away the hope. I'm trying to ground it and settle it, because if you allow yourself to believe that the only way you're ever going to be happy is this revow, then you're never going to be happy. That's just the truth. You're never going to be happy. You're never going to be happy if this is your way to happiness. Just saying. It says here, HCL money is indeed moving. People are getting paid. Even the Kurdish and North Korean area, where they have been waiting forever to get their salaries. Very possibly true. I remember looking at information about salaries where it was just delayed and then they were going to do it. So that's very likely true. One of my contacts said that he was told to hang on to as much dinar as he could, as they were expecting a value change in the very near future. Now I'm going to touch that, where we use our own power of reasoning in regards to that statement right there. Because it isn't just a recommendation. As you can see from this article here from Central Banking, whatever that is, I don't know, Central Banking Newsdesk, but it's dated 25 September of 2023, so it's a relatively current article. And it says that the Iraqi Central Bank bans use of dollar for internal transactions within their boundaries. It says Iraq Central Bank said that the country's commercial lenders must use only domestic currency for internal transactions from January 2024, so beginning next year, amid an increasing dollar shortage, which implies the dollar is still being used. It will also allow firms to settle foreign transactions in foreign currencies other than the US dollar. Governor Ali Mohin Al-Alaq announced on September 24. Now that's a big deal, because we know that the U.S. Treasury has their boot on the necks of Iraq. And here it says that firms will be allowed to settle foreign transactions in foreign currencies. In other words, without the use of the dollar. Sound like the BRICS nations? So yeah, things are happening, and quite honestly, that kind of encourages more hope than the Tuesday next week and October 4th and all those dates. Because for that to happen, it seems that we will see a need for an international exchange rate and not these rates connected to the dollar, because you'll see in foreign currencies other than the dollar. So that means that the Iraqi dinar will have its value in comparison to that foreign currency, not necessarily the dollar. And quite honestly, as I said in many of my videos, the dollar's dying. If you don't believe the dollar's dying, there's nothing I can ever do to convince you that the dollar's dying. But as long as the dollar is a fiat dollar and does not make that conversion like the BRICS nations, which is all just a part of the plan, into a gold-backed currency, the dollar is dead. And I am convinced that the dollar died way back a couple years ago when the petrodollar went negative. The petrodollar, did I say dollar? I said petrodollar went negative because now we are moving from a oil dollar, a petrodollar, to a gold and asset dollar. And until that happens, the current dollar is just a monopoly money. The move is to gold. And the move comes, that tied in nicely, the move comes after tension between the U.S. and Iraqi governments has led to a growing shortfall of dollars. The Iraqi authorities have imposed an official exchange. Okay, there's no arguing with that, unless this article is just a lie. I don't think it is. It even talks about CBDC impact on cross-border payments. That's the direction of money, and that makes sense to me. So just to add a little bit more weight to it, we got this article here from Reuters. This article is a 1-minute read. It's also dated the 24th of September, and it says Iraq will restrict all internal transactions to Iraqi dinars next year, central bank governor. Cairo, Egypt. Iraq will restrict all internal commercial and other transactions to Iraqi dinars instead of US dollars next year, Iraqi Central Bank Governor Al-Haq said on Sunday, according to the state media. So to me, that's convincing enough, folks. And that if DK Will was going to give you a date, that date would be January 2024. Plain and simple. I don't give dates and I don't give rates, but if I were forced to give a date with this information, that date would absolutely be January 2024, maybe before. And just to add a little bit more weight to my position, you can see here this article talks about India imports of Russian and Iraqi oil rebound in September. We know Russia is banning the use of the dollar. We see Iraq is banning the use of the dollar. And we see oil exports, as in petrodollar, oil exports and imports occurring absent the use of the petrodollar, so to speak. So are things heading that way? Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this is an American article, so it's going to give you the American spin. But these type of developments are the type of events and developments that matter in the mind of DK Will, as opposed to guru talk, guru promises, and guru hopium. I don't do drugs, never done drugs, ain't gonna do drugs. I love being in my right mind. Let's all stay in our right paradigm and our right mind. Okay, moving on. As we can see, Bruce, according to instructions given to some redemption centers, Tier 4B could be notified to set exchange redemption appointments on Monday to October. I am no insider. I am absolutely Tier 4BB, if anything else, and nobody's notified me of anything in the email. If you have been notified, hey, share it in the comments. But be for real, because if I can find out and check you out, you rest assured that I will. Just know that. Going ahead. Now, I wouldn't be able to get into your email, but I will do my own investigation before I buy into a line of anything from anybody. Nevertheless, moving on. We already talked about the day to celebrate Iraqi freedom on the 3rd, their sovereign national independence day. That's a wrap. That's a fact. There's no need to argue with that. We've already addressed about the World Trade Center. With it says we'll be welcome with a fully reinstated international traded currency. Now I'm not saying it's impossible, but I am saying it doesn't appear likely at the current state. But of course they keep a lot of things under wraps for particular reasons, and we are certainly not in the in need to know level. So things could develop quickly, yes, but the evidence available to us as of this point suggests that this is not necessarily true. Matter of fact, is it true that the World Trade Organization will even continue to exist? Those are the kind of things that you need to think in mind. It says, Shelton said on his call, 10 days of darkness, 12 days of disclosure would start after this event on Wednesday, October 4th. Another date that we can easily check, and probably that date will have to pass before I do another Iraqi dinar video, because I want time to pass so I can look and see how close they were to the truth, while we're trying to look ahead to see how likely they are giving accurate projections. Something else that I would really like to talk about, let me see what's on here first. The second week of October, the restitution and reparation funds will be given out for seniors over 60 in a lump sum. Ages 50 to 60 will pay it out over a 12-month period. Ages 30 to 49 will pay it out over a 15-year period. That's a repeat of something Bruce said. It also said if you don't have a job, you don't get paid. I don't know what to think of that at all, so I don't have much to say about that. DK ain't going to talk about that. DK going to look at this one too. In November, Social Security will be paid out in much higher payments. Well, that's easy for pretty much all of my audience to check because I already did the demographics of my audience. We are not the young crowd as a rule. And I know I cover topics that may chase off the new age crowd too, but see, I said that in the video that I did introducing myself, that if you don't want to hear the truth, you ain't gonna stick around here. And quite honestly, if you don't want to hear the truth, I don't care if you stick around here. But if you do want to hear the truth, at least this is the way I perceive it, and I'm willing to correct my truths if I find out I'm believing lies, I assure you of that. Then I hope you like and I hope you subscribe. I'm not trying to be your savior, but I will try to turn your attention to the one who is. Like my video said, the wheats are ripe for harvesting. So if that doesn't bark up your alley, then you know that's what it's all about anyway. It's a separation. It's a separation of the wheat from the chaff. So hopefully those who come here are at least wheat minded, and if you're not, then have a wonderful life and carry on. Okay, on January 1, 2024, the fiat US dollar will be worth nothing, as also starting 1 January 2024, all currencies across the road will be. Now that, I just read it, folks. I didn't read it ahead of time, but I already told you. That I agree with. That I believe is a very likely possibility based on the things that we've already covered. And I did not read this before I made that statement. I never give dates, and I said if I were to give a date. So don't go out there saying DK Will said it's going to happen in January. No, DK Will said it's possible. So don't get it twisted. But there is something else I want to cover for those of us who are over here in the Western Hemisphere. So for the sake of time, I'm going to move on to that right now. And it originates also from Dinar Recaps, Goldilocks Comments, and Global Economic News, late Monday evening, 10/2. This is 10/3, like I mentioned. So there's a lot of information here talking about payments technology and everything, which I've been saying forever about. This is bigger than Iraq. This is absolutely about blockchain and quantum financial systems and cryptocurrencies and Ripple and all that stuff. It's all about that, folks, and that's what's got to happen before this happens. But see, they're making it happen. And now the UX is playing the legislative games in the Congress, making it look like they're doing things, but they knew all along where it was going. And this is just a show for the people who buy into it, because that's the way they keep you captured mentally, spiritually, and emotionally captured, worrying about things that don't matter. However, moving on, what I do want to cover is some reality here. We're talking about a gold-based back system, right? But you see here, gold in the battle for control. I want to cover this because it says here that a tug of war for the control over gold pricing is starting to play out. It says the countries of the Eastern world have been amassing physical gold for numerous years, while the majority of the Western nations continue to only add to their debt pile. Well, we know that's true with the U.S. at over 33 trillion, right? Last year, Russia's finance ministry said it was critical to create the new Moscow world standard to normalize the functioning of the precious metals industry and have an alternative to the LBMA. That's the London base. Okay, so because they play with the gold. We know they play with the gold through paper contracts and everything else. It said this week we saw a surge in gold prices in China, leading to a record premium over international prices exceeding $100 an ounce. Well, that's a very good opportunity for arbitrage if you are capable of doing it. And arbitrage is basically buying something in one market where you can sell it higher in another market. So in other words, China can buy a bunch of gold in the U.S. market and then go sell it in China or whatever for a profit. Maybe the other way around. But that's arbitrage, and that's what they're doing, which is still trying to bolden up and enrich the Eastern world while they are decimating the Western world. The Western world being starting, the biggest chunks are Canada, the United States, Mexico. Let's hit Brazil, but Brazil's an outlier because it's part of the BRICS. Let's go down to Argentina. They got a bunch of oil. South America, basically. Okay? That's the Western world. Now, how accurate is this thing about amassing physical gold while the Western countries continue to only add to their debt pile? Take note of this important information I'm about to share with you right now. I have seen some pretty heart-wrenching clips of people in Canada suffering and even leaving Canada because it's getting so bad under Fidel Castro's son there up in that little clip. But did you know that back in March of 2016 that Canada sells off remaining gold reserves and has just 77 ounces left? 77 ounces left of gold for a sovereign nation. Were you aware that Canada sold out from under gold? Despite the fact that Canada may be one of the largest gold producers in the world, but the federal government has completed a sell-off of nearly all of its gold reserves. Now, why would a country do that if they are aware that we are heading towards a gold-backed, asset-backed financial system? Are they really looking out for their citizens? The latest data, keep in mind this is 2016, said that Canada sold off 21,851 ounces of gold coins in February for roughly $35 million. It's not a whole lot of money when it comes to gold. But were you aware that more recent data shows that the gold reserves in Canada remain unchanged at 0 tons? 0 tons of gold in the second quarter of 2023 from 0 tons in the first quarter of 2023? Do you live in Canada? Then you have a very significant reason to be concerned about the value of your currency in a gold and asset-backed monetary system. That is a Western society. And what is they produce gold? My goodness, I didn't know that. But I know Canada is full of a lot of wilderness. But what is the goal of a government that would do that to its people? It's done it. How about the other one? We're going to skip the U.S. because we know the U.S. has over 8,000 tons of gold. Okay, we know that. 8,100 plus tons. But let's go down. Let's skip the U.S. and let's go to Mexico. Viva Mexico! Did you know Mexico decreased to only 120.21 tons of gold in the second quarter of 2023 from 120.25 tons in the first quarter of 2023. Did you know that Canada reduced to 0 and Mexico is reducing their already paltry command of gold reserves? Were you aware of that in the Western hemisphere of this world? So when we look over here and we see this statement about amassing physical gold for Eastern world, we know that's true. We know Iraq has been amassing their gold, as a matter of fact. But the Western countries are depleting their gold. Now let's talk about one other one, Argentina, before we go to a different one. Did you know in Argentina, the gold reserves remain unchanged at only 61.74 tons? Now Argentina is a different story because they're full of oil. They're rich in oil, but at least they recognize the need to stabilize their gold reserves. Hopefully they'll start increasing them, which will also put the price up for gold. But in looking at the Western Hemisphere, when you realize that Argentina takes up most of South America's bottom, and then Brazil takes up most of South America's top, we've already taken out Canada, we've already taken out Mexico, and we're left with the United States, who's in great debt and has to make the switch. Now Brazil, on the other hand, Brazil is a part of BRICS, right? A part of the BRICS nations, just like Texas is trying to be. And Brazil's gold reserves surged nearly 100% in 3 months as central bank doubles purchases. This was back in August of 2021. How about more current information? Brazil reserves remain unchanged at 129.65 tons in the second quarter, but notice the increase from 2021. Keep in mind, I showed you an article here from August of 2021 where they surged nearly 100%. And now I'm showing you a chart. Here's July 2021, and then it went up even from there and remained steady. So Brazil's been upping their gold reserves, getting ready for a gold asset-backed monetary system. And this is important because the other matter I was going to cover in this article, which is pretty long, c'est la vie, come and see, subscribe to me. Nonetheless, because they talk about the New York Stock Exchange declining, and then going back to the news, rumors, and opinion I was covering earlier, you can see right here under the Judy note Tuesday, which is today, 3 October, talks about the celebration. But right here it says, on that same Tuesday, the stock market was expected to continue to sell off, and when it hit 20%, it will be at the point of no return and close early. Now that's talking about the United States now, the other part of the third world nations. Unfortunately, when I try to verify that information again, at the same place, NewYorkStockExchange.com, I don't see this sell-off. I don't see this sell-off. Because you see here, even though it's not less than 1% like we did before, the indices, they show here that the Dow Jones Industrial Average is only 1.5% down, S&P 1.6% down, New York Stock Exchange FANG and TM Index 2.2%, US 100 Index 1.01%, the composite 1.35%. We're still not showing those 20% declines. And so just to be sure, because I know you can drop to 5% today and 3% tomorrow, and the overall decline could be more than 8% from where you began. So what I did was I actually looked at the New York Stock Exchange chart. And this is down here on the bottom where I'm moving the mouse, if you can see it, is a 5-day chart. Okay, and on the 5-day chart, it shows where we started, which is up here around 15,440, we'll call it. It went up and down, of course, and now it's down here to 15,026. That is still not anywhere near a 20% decline over the course of the 5 days that we began looking at this alleged decline. Please don't get me wrong. The system's going to crash. It has to crash. You have to get rid of the old to bring in the new. I think what they're doing is trying to keep the band-aids and keep it together and try to make it easier transition, but ain't gonna be no getting around it. And like I said before, go to the grocery store. You see you ain't getting around it, are you? They didn't put more zeros on your dollar, but it takes more zeros out of your pocket to do what you do, right? So the U.S. is declining as well and has to make that transition to a gold-backed, asset-backed money if the U.S. wants to not become a third world country like Canada apparently is trying to do, and Mexico's been fighting its way out of it for a while. Don't get me wrong, Mexico has some nice areas, but it is what it is. I ain't hating. I mean, I don't hate, quite honestly, but nonetheless, it is what it is. So, as we continue to look at the Iraqi dinar, and we're looking for news, rumors, and opinions, and redemption dates, and rates and dates, and blah, 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 blah. Look, when it happens, you ain't going to miss it, okay? It does pay to keep your finger on the pulse of channels like mine and others. But please don't get caught up in the hopium and in the echo chambers and in the narratives. Look for the facts, and the facts will explain themselves. No matter what governor here is saying over there, senator here is saying over there, it doesn't matter. That's all for the psychological operation being done on the entire human society. I'm DK Will, and this is DK Will Talk About It, and I've talked about it. Have a wonderful day.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right.